watch these two clips real quick. Big photography guy. And we back. Welcome back to another episode of the Get Buggets podcast, powered by Harwood Ain't Basketball. I'm your host, Musa Marathi, and today we're talking Woodmont versus Eastside. I was in attendance at this game, of course, so, I just wanted to come on here and give my 2 cents. I usually like to write a script before I talk about each team and all, but I want to keep it very reactionary. And I know most of the time I don't even write a script, and I feel like I feel like I end up getting what I want to say out anyway. So, without further ado, Woodmont versus Eastside. I actually put a poll up earlier on Instagram about who I thought would win. I just was asking, Eastside or Woodmont, and a good amount said Eastside. Overall, more people said Eastside, but a good amount said Woodmont, and I just wanted to put this out because going into this, they had played earlier this season where Justin Ray had 38 points and Matthew Roberts had a 20-point game, and I just wanted to see what people thought now though, because Woodmont was 7-2 before this game, and Eastside was 5-2, so they were both doing pretty well overall this season. So I just had to see, but Eastside did win this game, and there were definitely a few key factors that I would say played a big part in this. Dre Huff, the starting point guard for Woodmont, was out this game due to technical issues. I'm not gonna explain too much. I don't exactly know too much either. But Dre Huff was unable to play this game. But regardless of that, Eastside had this game from start to finish. I feel like they controlled the pace, controlled the tempo. They knew what they had to do to win this game. Matthew Roberts, man, he had a great game, I feel like, from start to finish. And I feel like because Justin Ray had 38 points against him last time, where, Adam was filming, so I also wanted to come to this game because of that, because, every time Justin plays Woodmont, he goes crazy and gets a film, and Adam gets to film it. So I was like, okay, this might be another Justin breakout game. I wouldn't say it was a breakout game for Justin, but what I would say is because they were so keyed on Justin Ray, that freed Matthew Roberts up. And like I've said many times, I talked about it on the Thanksgiving episode, Matthew Roberts is a key Chris Middleton type piece to the Eastside team. He's going to get you a lot of good looks, loves to shoot in that mid-range area. I mean, the stop and pop is always there, can hit knockdown threes and all that. But today it almost seemed like Matthew Roberts featuring Justin. And I'm not saying that in any type of shade or anything like that, but Matthew he was shooting a good amount, but he was also making a good amount. So it just seemed like they couldn't only focus on Justin, which they probably planned after the dominant performance last time. But, regardless of Matt and Justin's game, Luke Parker played well, and their big man Colin just getting boards and hustling. They caused a lot of offensive fouls on Woodmont, and in the beginning of the game, they were just outplaying the big Woodmont. I have respect for Wes Kellett and what he does, but I feel like he was honestly getting outboarded a lot by some of those guys on Eastside at the beginning of the game. But I don't want to make it sound like that Wes had a bad game. He finished with 19. And it seemed like he started getting going a lot later than he could have, though. I believe he only had 5 points at halftime, which is probably what Eastside wanted, but I'm doubt that's what Woodmont wanted. But he started going more in the second half, getting to the basket. I knew he was a big man, but he definitely has a bigger body. He's a smooth 6'4", and he's pretty strong. So just going in there and taking contact near the end of the game where it might have been a little too late to come back. He did finish with 19, and I feel like Eastside did all right keying up on him. But my thing is, I almost feel like Woodmont doesn't really look for him like that. I understand. I did hear that they have other guys and all that, but I feel like they honestly don't Like, all right, like Eastside, they give it to Justin. They always are gonna find Justin or even Matthew, basically every play. But I feel like Woodmont, there is a lot of plays where, and this is no shade to Drake Stewart. I honestly feel like he had a solid game with Dre Huff being out, as the main ball handler. I feel like there were a lot of plays where either he just took it to the basket or someone else had the ball and it didn't lead to anything like significant. And I mean, if we are saying Wes Keller is the best player on Woodmont, wouldn't you want him to have the ball more? At least this is my thoughts. I feel like that's also another reason why he didn't get going until later, is because he didn't have the ball that much. But I feel like once he did start getting more involved, attacking, getting rebounds, it was much better for him. And I'm definitely not gonna forget to mention Kelvin Johnson. I believe his name is Kelvin. Kelvin had a great game. I feel like I've gotten to know him a lot better in this past year, and I knew he could shoot the ball pretty well. But sheesh, I think he had like 5 threes. If it wasn't a three, I don't know if it was gonna go in. But I mean, the 3-point shot was there. A floor spacer, doing everything. I feel like well, honestly, with shooting the ball. I mean, Eastside couldn't just leave him open. He has a pretty quick release, so that also helps. But not a super big player, but he's definitely gonna space the floor. He is a senior, so he's got to leave it all out there. And I don't. I actually think he was on JV last year, but to go from JV to varsity starter this year and just drop 20 like that, that's big time, man. So I had to shout out Kelvin from Woodmont, but I mean, didn't help them get. I mean, he did help them stay in the game, but overall, the win didn't go their way, or the game didn't go their way. But it had to give a shout out to Kelvin on that part. And what? So I've talked about the bigs off East Side, just dominating the boards and making a lot of layups. And I love the pump fakes. I feel like, especially Colin, man, the amount of pump fakes he gets or does that lead into points. It's honestly, it's smart basketball. Him and Luke Parker play very smart basketball. They're not super athletic, but they're gonna get you some key points. And I feel like every time it seemed like Woodmont is kind of going on a run, this is where Luke or Colin get the bucket rather than Justin making a huge play or Matt making a clutch shot. It's always one of those easy buckets you don't really realize that is keeping them ahead by 10 to 12 points at all times. Um, DJ Kelly, obviously, cannot forget to mention him. Point guard off of Eastside. Didn't score a bunch today, but he came in. I mean, he started obviously, and he did his thing. He helps handle the ball, takes the load off of all the other guards, and just honestly, I know I keep mentioning Matt as like a Chris Middleton. Is he the Drew Holiday? Are they the Bucks? DJ Kelly, he did hit a three. I did see that, and he's always gonna get to the rack. He's a fast guard, and like I said last time, he's just been doing. He seems like a natural point guard at this point. Back in the day, he used to be more of a two and just not dribble as much, but he seems a lot more confident now, and I'm loving the confidence from him and just how he's playing this season. It's definitely been great to see. Um, they did get up. Eastside did get up by almost 20 at one point. So Eastside did make their subs, but man, once Woodmont, the last 2 minutes, they're like, oh, maybe we should try and kill. So they go and make like 2 threes or at least like 6 points straight. So then Eastside has to put their starters all back in. And Justin Ray, for the second time I've watched him this season, was in foul trouble. It's annoying to see, one of the best people in Greenville County just be in foul trouble every time you try and go and watch him. But there were a few calls that might have been iffy, but I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say don't be aggressive, obviously, but just I feel like it would definitely give him more opportunity if he was in foul trouble, because then he wouldn't have to be on the bench as much. But it's still a solid game from him overall. I feel like he didn't try and force too many shots today. Last time I watched him, there might have been a few forced shots, but this time he really let the game come to him a little bit better. Even if he didn't score as much, he was finding Matthew, who was having a great game, so he trusted his teammates more, it seemed like. And on the breaks, he was making a lot of his points on fast breaks. He's always going to score on the fast break. He's just too athletic. Um, the bigs from Woodmont, I believe his name was Evan, number 33, and then West, obviously their other big. and I do want to mention this, and this is no slight to West, but it seemed, and I even saw this the other time when just people drive. West is a big body, and if I feel like if he would just get in front of them, they're not scoring. I feel like the way he's guarding them to the side when they're driving is just allowing them to score. I saw Matthew drive, and maybe even Luke Parker drive one time, and he sides up, so they're just going around the outside and making these layups, and it's just something small like this. It's nothing major, but I feel like he can be like one of the better defenders in the area. I just feel like he's. I'm not saying he's not giving his all. He definitely is out there working. I mean, he's the best player at Woodmont, which is a 5A. I just feel like there's a few possessions where he could definitely just, if he just locks in, and he could get like 3 to 4 blocks a game. Like I said, he's 6'4", but there were just a few times where it seemed like him and Evan off of Woodmont were just getting scored on in the paint, where I feel like they didn't need to. Evan going for unforced blocks when if he just stayed down, he probably would have finished the possession. And honestly, this is just things that Eastside just was able to advance on rather than Woodmont. Anytime West went in there, 3 people. I'm talking about West had to really put it up there strong to finish the layup. And I mean, I know he likes to get to the rim. He can also shoot very well. But if they convert that offense to defense, the way that Eastside does not let anyone get in the paint, if Woodmont went into the paint weak with the ball, Eastside was basically going to get the steal. I mean, they were definitely converting on that, but it seemed like on the opposite end, anytime Eastside got in the paint, they would either find a slick pass or a good pass to Colin or Luke, who would hit a pump fake and make the layup or something like that. Um, that mid range game though for Eastside, I that's definitely respectable. I mean, Matt hitting the pump fakes and all that in that area, that's a strong point in his game for sure. And I see dang, Justin likes to go to that as well, the mid range game. Besides that, JB off. Honestly, Woodmont only played 6 players, which is kind of crazy because I mean that's a big school. So to only have like for the coach to only trust 6 players is wild. JB, the 6 man off of Woodmont. Obviously, they probably would have played 7 if Dre was playing, but still 7 is crazy. But they played JB off the bench, who I've also played with before. Really athletic. Honestly, it seems like he's more of a defensive guy for them because he doesn't really shoot much, but really keys in on defense. But I mean, I did see he got hurt today, which definitely sucked. But he did get back and come in the game a little bit later. Just had to come off the court at that point. But definitely an athletic talent. He is a junior this year, so I mean, he still has time for sure. And him as your 6 man doesn't hurt. I mean, they are 7-2, so it shows that if he is coming off the bench, it does not hurt them. I do want to talk a little bit more about Drake Stewart as the point guard at Woodmont, and I mean, I just want to talk about his game. He can get to the basket. I've said this before. Drake Stewart. I believe he was also on JV last year with Kelvin. But even as a first year starter, he did pretty solid. Started off the game, I was kind of questioning some of the shots he was taking, just because I mean he's not. I mean he can shoot the ball, but just not known for shooting too many threes. But once he started getting downhill, I like that a lot more out of him because once he's going downhill, that opens the game up for a lot of other people. There were a few passes that weren't there, but you know just going in the paint strong, making some good layups when the team needed it. That was good to see from him, and he's definitely grown in confidence. I can tell. I mean, he's always had confidence, but to see it converting into like on in game and all that, that's definitely good to see. As he is also a junior, so they do have some juniors that are gonna be back, but good to see him in there, even with Dre Huff gone and minus a couple turnovers. He had a solid game when it was all said and done. Honestly, just tell him to not maybe shoot as many threes, but that's neither here nor there. He's got it. He is a guard, so I don't mind him shooting some of those threes. But that honestly, I feel like I've talked about basically everything. I mean, the East Side bench really didn't play that much. Dustin Webb came in and helped get a few key possessions in. He is very small he is very small, but he is a guard and can handle the ball. So, and he will sit down on defense. It does not matter. That's the real definition of heart over height. Dustin Webb will go in there and play hard no matter what. And it's always good to see that, man. Dario's brother, so, that family got some skill in them. So, that was fun to see. But yeah, had to come on here and give my initial reaction, unscripted, everything, just had to come on here and talk about that game. Big 4A versus 5A opponent. Wanted to see maybe a good 40 piece from Justin. Didn't, though. But, I mean, hey, Matt had a good 20, maybe a high 20-point game, and that was good to see. I believe he just got the offer from Erskine, so shout out to him for that. But without further ado, that will be this episode of the Get Buggers podcast. I'm your host, Musa Marathi, signing off, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.